start. So thanks everyone to join the session today. We'll be talking about servant leadership the right way. I know that you guys already have a lot of great sessions before. There was another session earlier today that was talking about a different way of, or different view of servant leadership. But here, I want to explore what really servant leadership is, what it means, and give some ideas on how can we apply them on our day-to-day basis. So just do a little introduction. So I'm Marcos Correa. I have about 15 years experience leading projects. I have worked in projects in Brazil, in Germany, in Ireland, here in the US. I have applied some of the things we will be learning today. I'm also a father. I like play guitar and stay with my kids and do the whole 9 yards driving in the weekends and all that. I actually live in Naperville. So why is important that we talk about servant leadership and why it matters today? There's a lot of confusion on what servant leadership is. There's also a lot of people talking about it, but they're talking about it in a way that's, I believe, too superficial and don't give the whole depth of what it means. As we are on an Agile conference, I'm bringing Mr. Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland, and that's why you guys see this a lot. There is one line only in the Scrum Guide that say that Scrum Master is a servant leader for the Scrum team. And I think they're smiling because they're basically like, okay, now you guys figured out what it is, because there is no explanation there. And the truth is, when we read this, we tend to look into the servant part more than the leader part. And I bet that if you guys have ever done an interview or a job interview, and the question comes in, we need someone to lead here and change the organization, so tell me how you lead. And then the person being interviewed have a deep breath, look into the horizon, and then say, I am servant leader. I remove impediments from my team. I make sure that that they can protect the team and that all things that's coming to them does not hit them and that they can achieve the maximum potential they can. And then that's it. Well, is that really servant leadership? I think it's a lot more servant than leadership. And we tend to accept this sort of comments because it's easier for us to accept someone that is coming to support me or support my team than actually have someone coming in to push the boundaries, to promote change, to ask the hard questions. And to me, that is why talking about servant leadership is important today. Since the Scrum Guide became more popular and a lot of the millennials movement, people considering more the individuals and not the hierarchies as it was before, some of the servant leadership characteristics was also embedded as part of a leadership. So I got this on the internet, and it's basically saying leadership is not about being the best. Leadership is about making everyone else better. Does that sound leadership? No. That still sounds the servant part. Doesn't mean the leader should not make everyone else better. It does, but it is not the reason why he's a leader. And that's what we want to depict here today. So what actually is servant leadership? Servant leadership is one of the most popular leadership models being discussed today. It was developed by Robert Greenleaf in the 1970s. And he was at the time he was an AT&T manager who basically taught a lot of the executives how to do leadership. And in his findings during his studies was that the managers that lead the team based on hierarchy and power and top-down, they was less effective than the leaders that were more personal with their teams. And because of that, he starts he actually wrote a document on the 70s basically saying the word servant leadership. He's the first one really come up with that word. The concept, it's 2,000 years old, and we'll get to that. But the concept servant leadership started growing up. And then after that, we have John Maxwell, and we have Hyatt, and then we have other leadership gurus today that basically goes on the same line. So this is two interesting items that he wrote in his work. And what he was saying is that the servant leadership begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first. So, and I imagine by the 70s, which I was not even born at that time, in the 70s, business is business, people is people, and things doesn't really mix much. We have the hierarchies, we have goals, we have results, then people let the AGR do the paychecks, and then that's it. And then he comes with a new vision saying, well, if the results I got from my experiments between these two teams of leaders here at AT&T is true, then I need to start looking to the actual individuals. And we as human beings, we long to interact with each other. We long to be part of a community. And this is what he brings here. And then but he also have the questions. In the process that we are developing or we are achieving our goals, are we developing our people? Are people growing? Are people more free? Are they creative? Are they be able to make mistakes? Are they be able to be humans? And these questions today, I think today in our society, it seems a little bit cliche, but in the 70s, I think this was like a big change. And it's common to see today that organizations say, we are our people, we're not our products, we are not our buildings, we're not our assets, we are our people. But that's because the companies are more and more understanding that the human factor is what can make or break a company. You can take years ago when Google and Facebook, they start to open their offices, and then in every single news they were showing, oh, this is an office, but people can do with flip-flops and they play table tennis 2 in the afternoon, and they're like, how this can be productive. But that was a way, an environment that they created so they could support their employees, and they would say, hey, here, you, 25-year-old out of college, full of ideas, you can be you. We want you to create, we want to innovate, but it's okay for you to make mistakes. You know, and we understand the 9 to 5 sometimes doesn't work. You need time to relax. You need time to grow yourself. Servant leadership is a combination of 2 words, which is a servant, which basically is to serve others, and then the leader, who takes the action to lead a group or organization to a direction. Now, when studying servant leadership, there's always saying, oh, there's a reason why servant is first. It's because The servant leadership is there to serve first, which, okay, I got it. It's a state of mind and a state of spirit to want to serve. But I can make my team to feel better and have a great environment, but they need to have a purpose. And the purpose comes from the leadership. The leader part of their servant leadership is the one that will give purpose, is the one that will give direction. And the servant part is like, okay, now team, you know where we're going. What do you need that I can do for you to help you to get there? And that is the picture of a servant leader. If we put side by side some qualities of the common leader, let's say from the past, what is a servant leader is, both of them, they communicate the goals and they communicate what needs to be achieved. But if you see the columns on the left, the leader is more egocentric. It's my bonus, it's my goals, it's what I want. It is top down. It's a position of power, and he uses that to make sure everybody understands his power and also do what he says. The servant leadership, the opposite, he cares about the individuals. What do you guys need? Do you make a mistake? I'm here with you, let's learn about it. Oh, it's a success? It's not my success, it's your success. He put himself out of the picture. He listens more than he speaks more because he wants to understand what exactly is the problem that you have, and he wants to feel in your shoes in order to help you better. Instead of like, I don't care about it, it's your problem, this is my goals, do it. And I think during our life, at some point, we did have a lot of leaders like this, but we always remember better leaders that are like this. So in the essence, a servant leader, he loves the people. He cares about the individual. It's not only even the team. Sometimes we say the team, it gives a sense of group, but actually is that one-on-one interaction with every single individual in the team that's what matters most. That's what makes him happy. It's what makes his life have a meaning and a satisfaction. But also the leader wants to push the boundaries. And these are the things that sometimes is not that comfortable. But it needs to be done because we need to go out of our comfort zones in order to grow, and I think we all also heard that as well. So as results, not only from Greenleaf, but some University of Chicago here studies, when they implement servant leadership, the main points they have as results of having leaders acting this way was that first, it positively impacts the workplace. People feel better to work on an environment like this. The servant leader, he excels in building teams because people are comfortable with the leader in the room. He also creates that environment so people can be creative. People can be themselves. People are treated fairly. And as a result, that creates a more meaningful work result from what they're doing. So it happened with me when I was starting my project leadership career. I was given this a small project to work with a team. I was a coordinator before, and I was pushing to go to a leadership role. And like, okay, go for it. And I have my time plan. Everything was good, but the team starts to get behind. But they're not get behind because the fact that they were get behind, but because their manager was basically putting them aside to do other work. But to me, that was the opportunity to become a project leader, to become a project manager at the time. And I saw that like this project needs to be delivered. And as soon as my main project manager was pushing me and pressuring me as a new guy trying to make it work, I started to push the team and push the team and push the team. Until the day I got in the morning, I opened my laptop and there's an email from the manager saying, I'm waiting you at this meeting room and we need to have a talk. And then I was like, okay, I don't think this is gonna end well. So I got to the room, and this is pretty much what I saw it. The only difference, people are not smiling. The whole team was in the room with the manager, waiting me to arrive, to like, okay, this needs to stop now. So when I got to the room, and I see the whole team and the manager just waiting for me, my reaction was like, oh, I'm in deep trouble now. So from the beginning, I started to be defensive. He was talking to me, and I was like giving all my reasons and explanations why things should be that way. To the time he said, okay, listen to me. I understand why you're acting the way you're acting. But we're all here to help you to deliver this project. And the reason why you're getting behind is because it's my order. And if you have a problem, I'm the one to talk to that manager. It's not your problem. And we all together will work with you to make this happen. It took maybe 5 minutes for me to really understand what was that. Because I was not expecting a helping hand at all. I was expecting, like, not a good talk. But he had the compassion and the understanding, not only he, but the team, that, okay, he's a new guy coming in, he's trying to get his promotion and then go move to his role. It's the first time he's doing it. Let's give him a break, let's help him. That changed completely the whole thing from that day forward. Because they were accepting my lack of experience. They were saying, hey, we are on this together. It's not that because you are the project manager at this time that we need to follow what you're saying, but you need to consider what we're saying. But if we go all together, we get further. And that was the first time today I recognize I was experiencing servant leadership. And I think, like, for most of us in life, we find this sort of situations where we need that helping hand, and if the other side is keen enough to understand our situation, I think it would be better for everybody. As a second part of this presentation here, now that we understand what servant leadership is, I want to talk about some of the main characteristics of a servant leader. And we will result with 4 takeaways that we can take here and start today being better leaders. the first characteristic that you need to see is visionary. And that's because the vision or the goals gives the purpose. A lot of the literature on servant leadership tends to go to the human side of it and then again be on the servant, but you need to have a purpose. We need to have a meaning why we are doing this. Why does it mean? Why this is important? What's our mission? What is the thing that will get us together to move to somewhere? That is the vision. The second is inspiration. A leader and a servant leader, they inspire others. The inspiration is how you as a leader will plant into each one of your team members the desire to achieve what needs to be achieved. They need to feel part of their mission. They need to feel that is their mission, and this is how you inspire them. It's common we see on movies, especially when you have a battle or something, there's always someone going in the front and saying to start that speech, like, we are doing this for our children, and we're like, wow, this is kind of motivating us. That is the inspiration. Of course, we don't need to expect to go in front of our teams and do the same sort of speech, but we can do every day, little by little, as a group, as individuals, giving that message to everybody. Inspiring people also allows them to move out of their comfort zone. Because when you are having this one-on-one relationship with your team members, when you're embracing them, when you're being vulnerable, being a leader, embracing them, they also are being vulnerable, sharing what's happening with them. And that is not something that we as humans feel comfortable. So when you're inspiring, you're giving them the action and the feeling to move forward out of their comfort zone, but with a sense that we as a team will do that together. The third characteristic is influence. And influence, in my view, is a subproduct of you being vulnerable and have that servant, that servant actions with your teams. Why? Because now you matter to me as a person. You are not developer A, you are John. And that's a big difference. And that is the human connection that servant leadership is all about. Now, when we say influence, we not only say influence to the individual, but we also say influence to the organization. And this is where you need to use your allies to push the boundaries. You already inspire them to go out of their comfort zone. And now you need to use that human power to influence the organization and move further. And when you have influence, you have an environment where people can be heard, where people can talk about their problems, where people can help, where can people make mistakes. And if we have this unity, we can influence more. It is like a cascade effect. A team, a, two members, a team, a department, an organization. So influence basically amplifies your vision to go out of the team's boundaries. Characteristic 4, I think, is more usual for us to hear about it. It's about coaching. It's about cheering up for each individual in each team, keeping the team morale, let them make mistakes, let them, they feel safe. And I like the word coaching because coaching also gives a direction. It gives a purpose, why we're doing this. And why we're doing this is very important. Why we're doing this is one of the key questions people feel compelled to act. And every time there is a difficulty or a barrier or something that is really impeding the team to progress, the morale starts to go down, and then it's a time when you need to go back to, okay, why we're doing this? What is our goal? Are we in this together? And get that unity again. I left the last part, the last one, which is, to me, the most important one. It's compassion. It is to go beyond your peer as an individual in the workplace, and you expand that to the individual as a whole. Of course, you will you not transgress any boundaries the person have, but everybody have a family, everybody have bills to pay, everybody have any issues going out of the office door, and sometimes those issues affect what you're doing in your work. Being compassionate really creates the meaningful connections with all your team. Being compassionate, you serve because you want to serve and you are happy to serve, and it is part of the meaning of your life to serve, and it's not something that it's imposed or is politically correct to do it. Sorry, my throat is, my allergy kept me on Saturday, so. Do we have any questions or comments so far? Okay. I want to go now into basically 2 role models. We could do more, but I think role models are important to really understand some of the behaviors we would like to basically mimic or to do the same or be like that person. And I'm starting with the role model number 1, which is Jesus. And then here I'm not going to the religious side, I'm not preaching, I'm not going to that vertent of Jesus' story. I'm talking about he as a man who walked here and was compassionate about everyone else, that asked the hard questions to the leaders, that pushed the boundaries, that despite of the social class, treated everyone equally. And according to scholars, Jesus is the number one servant leader. And that's why in the beginning I said this is something that was back 2,000 years ago, and that is basically what the literature tells us today. He was not afraid to defy the rulers of the time, both religious or political, but yet he did not transgress any rule. He was just put questions on the status quo. He would treat the beggar the same way he would treat the people from the church. Doesn't matter. And when we sometimes are biased to treat the director better than the developer, or to get a little bit of leeway with this person despite of the other person, even sometimes unconsciously. And that is what we need to learn and to polish every day in ourselves, for us to continue to grow. I have here a second role model. I only have two. Could have more. So I have here Nelson Mandela. I could have Late Dai. I could have Gandhi. I could have Mother Teresa. And they all kind of go on the same line. They sacrificed themselves for what they believed, and what they believed was more equality. What they believed was to help their people to grow and to have the means to live a good life or to do a good work. Same way he was there asking the hard questions against their political leaders, and that's why he was imprisoned for more than 25 years. And yet, every single one around the world was looking at him as a great servant leader, even though he was in jail. And interesting is, when I was doing the research for role models, almost in all different papers are looked into, we have Jesus, we have Mandela, we have Gandhi, we have, so they kind of go the same, but I never saw one from the business side. It's either religious or political. And that is because businesses care about results. But inside the businesses, we have the people. So it's easier to see on public figures like this the work they have done for their people than inside organizations. And this is one of the messages I like you guys to leave this session thinking is, okay, what can I do to have my team move forward to a direction, to a vision that they need to do, they need to go, and how can I push the boundaries to make everyone better, the individual, the team, and the organizations. It is a tough question. It is a tough question because it's not on processes that we're working on, it's not on finances, it is basically human relations, it is status quo, it is politics. But if we want to serve our team better, that's the role we need to play. I have here another example. So after I had that nice incident in the beginning, and I started to learn more and more how to to include my team in the projects. I got on a project where I have basically a new team from different parts of the world, for like 10 people in a different country. They didn't know anyone. We didn't know each other. We were kind of put together in a room and like, okay, you guys will be working for 12 months on this project. And then like, yes, go. Well, some of these people have families and their families were not with them. And they were not going every other month back home. So they stayed there for 2-3 months without seeing their families. There were people there that they were young enough that they didn't care. They're just looking to, oh, weekend is coming, where I'm gonna go, how many beers I'm gonna drink, and that was it. And it was really, really difficult to create a team with that group of individuals. Months after the project started, the actual morale starts to go down because people start to be homesick. And we were working extra hours, so it was not only the burn up of the team, but also the fact that they were there by themselves, their families are not there, they have the worries back home, and that was also brought back to the team into the work of the next day. So what I decided to do is to talk individually with each one of them. I brought them to a one-on-one conversation. And that one-on-one conversation, I still remember it was awkward the first 10 minutes. Because the first 10 minutes, they start to report whatever they're doing and how many bugs they have tested and then how the processes are going and then when these things will be finished. And then like, okay, this is all great. Well, I'm not here to talk to you about this. I'm here to talk how you're doing. Are you settled okay? How are things back home? Caring about the person. Caring about what is your problem. Okay, reports I can have any time. Talking with you. What is the problem with you? And then I discovered that one of them, oh, my kid is sick back in Mexico. Okay, let's arrange you to go back to Mexico for a week or two to have this. Oh, my apartment is crap. I don't want to stay in my apartment anymore. I tried to move the apartment. I don't have hot water, blah, 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 whatever it was. No, I was not their manager, but there, nobody was their manager. They're just left there to do the work. And as soon as I start to take these items, and like, I'm gonna work with you with this, I start to see better behavior from the team members. I start to see our rebounding and things going back on track. It took some time to really go back on track because the situation was not ideal at that time. But that sort of one-on-one conversation was crucial, so they could feel comfortable on like, okay, I'm not here alone. I'm not fighting this by myself. I have someone that is taking care of me too. And that was like a huge comeback in the team. Even management there came to talk to me like, okay, what happened? I was receiving complaints from their managers back on their country, sending me emails that their apartment is not this guy's not that, and now things start to go smooth again. I'm like, well, that's why we're having our meetings when I'm giving you a laundry list of things we need to do for those guys. And then that started to make sense to him as well. So I could see firsthand this servant leadership working. Now, not towards me, but I'm serving the team. And it's really, really powerful when you do this. When the project ended, we had a party, we exchanged gifts. If that project ended 6 months before, I don't think we even had to have goodbye to each other. And still today, people talk with each other on Facebook because we create that bond and that meaningful connection that you take. You don't take only for that time, you take sometimes for life. It's my last slide for today, the 4 takeaways. First is to communicate the vision, always. The vision is the direction. You can support the team how much you want, but if there's no direction, there's no purpose, then perhaps you're just wasting efforts where your efforts could be used better if it's toward one direction only. Listen, engage, and involve your team. Don't be set aside on a silo. Don't be the famous closed door policies on your offices. No. Walk around, talk to people, have coffee, have lunch. Actually, lunch is one of the best things if you see someone that is down for any reason and you want to create that connection. Lunch is one of the best, or coffee is one of the best things you can do. Relaxed environments, go have a meal, just talk about life. Forget, don't even talk about work, how things are going, everything fine, everything not fine. Influence the team and the organization to be better, and that is the toughest part always, because be better means go out of your comfort zone. There is no other way around. Be better means you're asking the hard questions. Be better means sometimes you need to be energetic and you need to push. Sometimes you need to say 10 times the same things until things happen. But you as a leader, as a servant leader, this is your purpose in the team. You provide support and you help and promote your team members. Don't make sure they understand they are not alone and that you are there with them. It's not only you are doing the work. You can do the work, but if they don't really recognize the work being done, then the circle or the connection is incomplete. They need to see, yes, he's here with me, or she's here with me. And I believe with these 4 takeaways, if we're starting to implement or to increase or to change now, I'm sure you guys will start to see better results on your day-to-day work. Okay, that was the last slide. Does anyone have any questions, any comments, any examples or things I'm going to bring into the table?
Any examples from the business world of a good business leader? You mentioned, a lot of the books don't talk about that, but do any come to mind for you?
Well, it is hard to say because again, there's not much exposure on how in the business world things are doing, like the company cultures. But if we look into company cultures, you could look at something like Microsoft supporting their teams with scholarships, supporting their teams, and having that social engineering piece to help people with disabilities to create software or devices that could enhance people's lives, and that was their mission. But also that, from what I read, a lot of that was also coming from the inside of their teams. The Googles, Facebooks is going to the same direction in terms of, I want to promote you, I want to make you free, and and that started to be replicated in other organizations. I had the opportunity to be in India with a company called Wipro, and I was amazed. I was amazed. Like in the middle of almost like a desert, there was this glassy building, and we get there, they have like volleyball courts. They work 24 hours. They have a library that you can go anytime and study whatever you want. They incentivize you to do that. They do programs with their families. They have feedback programs. So all this kind of things that involves more and more the employees and the teams, and in the company culture, I think they are good. Let's say servant leadership culture. Let's put it that way. But it's hard, I think, to see one person like Bill Gates or Zuckerberg or whatever. I think it's hard to see because we don't have that feedback. Yes.
I wonder if you have any specific or concrete recommendations on the topic of influencing teams and organizations to be better. In my experience, I have the impression that people kind of welcome the vision, welcome opportunities to be engaged and involved, but somewhat, are kind of tied to how they currently do things or what their current strengths are, what they think their own current strengths are, and kind of actively resist. Mm-hmm. Even the gentlest suggestion that maybe they could consider, but like maybe it might be good to think of some alternative ways of doing something. So I wonder if you have any specific recommendations on that point. Those can be some hard conversations, and it's difficult to be. I have found it difficult to be in a position of finding a way to suggest that here might be some other things that you might consider, or that as a team we might consider doing, when the team hasn't themselves kind of identified that they might be interested in improving a skill or changing their process. So it's possible to kind of be in the position of observing that maybe something is not quite where it needs to be in order to achieve the goals that we need to achieve as a team. But yet, I don't know, in old style political terms, we would say like people their consciousness isn't raised, like they're not awake yet to the idea. And I've even seen a team very recently who, even though they had multiple process breakdowns and multiple failures requiring rework, and generating software defects, was convinced that they were a very effective team, and in fact far superior to another team which didn't have those issues and evidence. And so, I don't know, I'll leave it there and see if you have anything you would like to comment on in the area of influencing to be better.
Yeah, and like the change management piece is always the hardest, and again, I think that's why on the servant leadership piece, people care more about the servant because it's comfort zone than go to the leadership. But I think like in a situation where the team wants to change or wants to improve, it is how you could get the team together with the immediate manager, and then if that needed goes to the next level. Because in a way there is not, in a company and with all the political and the hierarchy and the powers, there are things the immediate manager can do. There are things that, okay, I need to bring in to my superior. So you need kind of to get the buy-in one step to another to get what you want. But to get the first buy-in, instead of coming like you as a person, it'd be nice to go like, okay, we as a team need this. And start to be like, okay, we as a collective body of this company wants to have this change, I want to move to this direction. Because on the manager perspective, it's easier for me to say no to you than to say no to the whole team.
But suppose I am that manager, or suppose I am a person, or suppose I am a person who's in some way responsible for the performance of this team, but maybe none of them report to me. So there's no positional authority in play, but suppose I'm the accountable person.
So you're accountable, but you're not directly.
I know that, yeah, issues there, but I guess I'm just, specifically, developing talent is a situation that comes to mind that, we all know it's always possible to learn more and to improve. And sometimes people are at a point in their career where they feel like, hey, I've been doing this for a few years, I know what I'm doing, I don't need feedback or coaching or instruction, I know what I'm doing, I'm good, leave me alone. And,
well, if you are that manager, I think that there may be two or three strategies you can do. You can find a peer, or even better, the manager that owns that team reports to you, and get that conversation with them and say, hey, this is what I need the team to do. Because if you're accountable, I think that's the card you can play in the game. I'm accountable for it, so I need to make sure this is happening. The resource manager side, he needs to make sure that the resources are providing what you need. So then you can get together with him or her and get that same level. If the decision is up, then you both can go and talk to the immediate manager or director to have that moving forward. So the strategy is always like, when you're doing change, try to get allies that go with you, instead of going by yourself. Because if you're going by, like a lone wolf, will not,
right.
you not make that far. But if you have different allies, different people, maybe the organization that makes you accountable, maybe you can bring them in and say, hey, you guys make me accountable, but this need to be done, and I need your support because I want to push those guys. They're not hearing to me. And they're like, okay, I give you your support, and then you can come back and say, okay, from senior management, I have their support. I need this. How are we gonna make this happen? And try to. So this is how you kind of moving pieces. Try to influence who your allies, who could go with you on that. But first, start with the team to really understand what they need, and then have that detailed and have that grasp and understand. Because then, no matter with whom you're sitting, you are able to talk on their behalf, and that also help you to get exactly or even more what they need. If that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, I did that with my team. I sat down and called if they were remote and talked to every team member, and it was just amazing the information you find out about what they like about the project, about what they think the risks are and the issues are. So it's very helpful.
Yeah. Oh, nice feedback. Because sometimes you go like to retrospectives or have that, and it's kind of repetitive. Oh, is this tool? Oh, is this process? Oh, is this? It's more like, sometimes it's more like a pro forma meeting than anything else. So we try to break that, and then when you have this meaningful things is when you really can say, okay, now I have some good material, I can go back and try to support them.
Because you tell them we're a team, we'll achieve this goal together. It's our accomplishment, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help find answers, do whatever needs to be done. So I try to set the ground rules that way.
Yeah, that's an excellent way to start, and I find myself doing a little bit the same with new teams, because sometimes you're the manager, you go there, the new team either like, or even if it's supplier or consultants, they're like, I don't want to let's say expose the one to this manager, I don't know him, I don't know how can I trust him, so they kind of get that hidden. But when you level the terrain and say, hey, we are together on this. If you tell me what's going on, I can help you. If if you say, if you don't tell me anything, I cannot help you, but I can tell you, down the road, if the problems have this consequence, then we have a different conversation, and then people are like, oh, okay, I got you with me, and I got you, everyone needs to play a role in this, so let's work together, and then get that issue resolved. Nice. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your participation. And I hope you enjoyed the conference today. It was kind of long, but nice. Thank you. Thank you.